what does a capitalist do? He identifies opportunities, says, you're good at this, you're good at that. I'm good at directing both of you. So you do this, you do that, and I'll pay you to do that, and then we'll produce something bigger for the rest of the people. That's why capitalists are moral. And if you get them addicted to theft, it messes up the entire system, which is what a fiat system does. It turns all capitalists into thieves. Hey guys, Rafa here from the Endgame Investor with this month's edition of the Bitter Endgame Draft with Phil Lowe of the Bitter Draft, which no longer exists because he nuked it. Maybe it'll come back someday if he ever gets his sanity back, but he seems okay. He's a little bit shiny. It's okay. He's just going through puberty, but everything else is fine. Either that or he's the Terminator. It could be both. How are you doing, Phil?
Yeah, my skin is very shiny. We were talking about this off camera. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm so shiny this morning. It's very. I do look like the Terminator, the liquid metal one.
I don't
I'm
know
doing well
what.
otherwise. I can't fix this. I don't have a makeup department, so you guys are just gonna have to deal with shiny face feel today. Uh,
Okay. I want to look up conditions that can lead to shiny faces.
shiny.
Maybe we can find something really scary and freak you out.
Yeah, just give me some more neuroses.
Yeah, I'll edit
Yeah.
something in. I'll edit something in here. I'll find the really weird things.
Crude oil can be shipped via mammoth super tankers in order to better utilize our country's vast supplies of yet untapped natural resources.
I admit I was a little premature. Like when silver was going up to like $150 or whatever, I kind of freaked out and was like, "Oh, this is it. This is the end game. I'm shutting down." I was a little premature, but I'm not. I am not that premature. Which we're going to talk about today. We are
Hmm.
definitely. I think you're. I did not get a chance to read your most recent email, but things are absolutely, definitely moving, and I'm very happy having not a giant presence on the internet right now. I'm still doing this for you because I want to help you out, but
Yeah. Oh,
other than
thanks,
that,
Phil.
I don't need to grow my channel. Yeah, I want everyone to know where Rafi is. So
Okay. Okay, we have three topics today, and I'm going to read them. And Phil's going to take the first one from an Austrian perspective. Hopefully. And I'm going to take the second one, but I'll let Phil guess first, and then we will discuss the third philosophical topic. The first one is what happens if the Fed engages QE, meaning it has to buy long-term bonds? By QE, we don't mean RMP, reverse management purchases, or something on the short end, like little wimpy QE, $5-10 billion a month. I'm talking about massive amounts of buying long-term bonds like they did in 2011 and 2020, that kind of thing. If they're going to have to do that to control long-term rates, but if they do that while trying to control inflation, as they put it, by hiking short-term rates, then what happens mechanically in the plumbing, and how does it affect economic activity as we have come to know it? The second topic is moral usury, and usury is a bad term. The question is if charging interest is considered immoral, which I don't think it is. It is in certain circumstances, which we'll be discussing. What differentiates moral interest rates or using interest rates in a moral way, charging people interest on loans or whatever it is, from immoral usury? And the answer is pretty simple, but we'll see if Phil can guess it. Three is living a moral life through the end game and beyond, both as a believer and as a non-believer. And Phil would call himself a non-believer. I wouldn't call Phil a non-believer because Phil is a fundamentally moral human being. In order to be a fundamentally moral human being, you have to believe that you are mortal and you're going to die, and therefore you have to be good because if you're mortal, you're going to be judged by something that isn't, or at least there's a fear of that, which would make you act within moral boundaries. So in that sense, I think Phil's a believer, but whatever, however you want to define that, I think is fine. You could say it's a non-believer in something else or whatever. So we're going to start with the first topic. What if the Fed is forced to buy long-term bonds because interest rates keep going up and they need to in order to suppress that, because otherwise the economy collapses. But at the same time, they're hiking rates. Do you think that they're going to do this? Is this possible?
well, I read Keynes's General Theory since last month, and
You
I'm
did?
now converted. I'm converted to Keynesianism. I think he's brilliant. No, I'm just.
Did you read the book?
I read it in college. I mean,
Uh,
I tried to read it in college. It's one of those. It's kind of like reading Marx. It's like, okay, none of this makes any sense. This is.
it's like the Mein Kampf of economics.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah, it's like, oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know. Anyone who like logically follows, if you have a logical mind and you try to logically follow these works, it just doesn't. Nothing ever gels. But no. So what would happen with the bond market? I mean, obviously, in the long term, nothing. And even in the short, I don't think this is going to work. Let me put it that way. So if they're buying, what happens when the bond market collapses is that companies cannot pay off their debts, and they start to they just literally start defaulting on their bonds, and you go into deflationary tailspin. And so what QE is the Fed will literally buy the garbage debt, put it on its junk on its balance sheet as money good, and then issue reserves or something. Yeah, it would have to be reserves. So they buy the junk debt off the banks, and then they issue reserves, and then the banks can go issue more and more credit. The problem is the currency devalues. That's one because that's what's on the other side of the balance sheet and on the liability side. But the other problem is this didn't solve any fundamental problems. The companies that are not bailed out are still going to go bankrupt and need to be bailed out. So you're still the Federal Reserve's balance sheet will just have to grow that much faster because because you're facing positive interest rates. So anybody who made a bad loan is not going to be pay need going to be able to pay it off and need to be bailed out. So I mean, can the Fed technically, take on what's our debt, $13 trillion or so? What's private debt in America? I don't know, it's way more than that, 60
Wait,
trillion.
you think the Fed's going to buy private debt? I don't think they've
It's
ever
going to
done
have
that
to.
outside of mortgage-backed securities. They haven't done that.
Yeah, they're going to have to. Yeah. I mean, they'll find some way to do it. They before mortgage-backed securities, they never did it at all, right? But the crash was
Right.
so bad with mortgage-backed securities, they had to buy them. They're gonna have to do the same thing now with the private credit, private equity.
Oh, so
I
that's
think.
interesting. So are you saying that the next 2008 style financial crisis is going to be these private credit bonds or maybe these
Yeah, yeah.
corporate bonds that companies are selling to build data centers and all? It could be like a combination of private credit slash AI slash whatever debt's being raised now, and the Fed's gonna have to take all this on. That's
And
your
the commercial
prediction?
real estate. Yeah, the Fed's gonna have to take. Who else is gonna take it on?
Well, you've just heard Phil's prediction here. His prediction, pain.
Prediction? Yes, prediction. Pain.
Yeah, so yeah, they're gonna have to buy all and sundry, and that really should do it. But now I think they'll have to do it regard. I mean, the idea what Warsh is saying is, oh, we'll keep interest rates positive, but we'll just catch we'll lean the tower over, but we'll just catch people who fall off the tower. Okay, well, you're gonna catch a lot of people. You're gonna catch a lot more people than if you set the tower standing up straight. I don't know. That's not the best metaphor. I'm trying to think like what you're doing. Like he's trying to have his cake and eat it too. Like you can't do it.
I saw clips of his speech, and he was like happy that interest rates were going higher because his idea is that if we don't give forward guidance, then market prices mean have greater meaning or they better reflect market realities or something like I don't know, whatever he said. And now he's happy that 30-year rates went up like was it 15, 20 basis points in the last 2 days, but at some point he's not going to be happy about this. Interest rates are going to crash something because if it's a benchmark, if 10 years, 20-year, 30-year treasuries are benchmarks for all kinds of long-term debt, mortgage rates go up, car loan rates go up, student loan rates go up, everything goes up, and then you can't afford the debt anymore, and then you can't pay the debt down if it's floating rate, especially, and then you start defaulting. So there is a trip line somewhere in the longer term rates. And that would be like a very funny position for Warsh to be in, where he's forced to buy the long-term debt, but then insists that he's going to hike short-term rates to control inflation. But I mean, if he has to buy the long-term rates, do you think that anything he does in the short rate even matters on the short
No.
end?
No, one of the key signs of the in game, and just for the casual, if there's casual viewers who are not like huge econ nerds like us, one of the surest signs of the in game is the Fed losing control and interest everything but the federal funds rate going up. So losing control of the interest rates is a sure sign of the in game. That means it's here. Everything else is sort of we're kind of reading tea leaves chicken entrails or whatever to try and guess is this the end game? If the interest rates just keep going up, we are absolutely there. So we need it, we for Rafi and I's theories to start being challenged about the timing of the end game, we would have to see interest rates coming down, and they're not. Anything but the federal funds rate. The federal funds rate we don't care about because the Fed sets that. But if the market is rejecting the federal funds rate and just interest rates just keep going up, then we're there.
If short-term rates go up,
Okay, short-term
right?
rates go up
Short-term
and
rates go
long-term rates
up
go down.
and long-term rates are being forced down. What does that do to inflation? And what does that do to economic activity?
Gee whiz. All right, so short-term rates are being kept up. I mean, so
But
I
at
know
the
what
same
Warsh.
time, that Warsh is like buying a whole bunch of long-term debt to
So
push
what
the
Warsh
long-term rates down.
what they're trying to do, I know. I think what I understand what Warsh is trying to do in his mind, like what a Keynesian is thinking. They're like, oh, by doing this, we will force everyone back into long-term debt. We're gonna clear out because the short-term interest rates are gonna be really high. So we're gonna
Mhm.
clear that out by keeping those rates high and lower long-term interest rates through QE, convincing everyone to move back into long-term bonds out of short-term debt, and therefore, giving us another 30 years to deal with this. I don't think it's going to work because of the debt saturation. I don't think the market is interested in people converting their credit card debt into 30-year mortgages again, right?
Mhm.
I don't think there's any appetite for that, even with this manipulation. Um, so if and not to mention everyone like the Treasury Department has been converting all their long-term debt into short-term debt. I mean, they've been retiring the 30-year and longer note or the 20 and 30-year
Yeah,
notes, and they've been turning
because
them
the rates are too high, so they're
the rates are high, and
retiring.
they've been turning them to short-term notes. So when those
Mhm.
come due, I don't and long-term interest rates have not been coming down. So I don't think the Treasury is going to be able to turn those back into long-term notes. I don't think there's any appetite for it at all. So
Okay,
I think it's going
so
to fail. I think the Fed is going to buy exponentially more and more and more and more on its balance sheet, and that's going to spook everybody because
yeah, so
no one
that's
else wants it.
that's obviously what's going to happen. We have this interesting argument in our community. Two people that I highly, highly respect who disagree with one another. One is Daniel Oliver. The other is Keith Weiner. Daniel Oliver thinks that they're going to lose control on the long end, and that's going to create what he calls the second phase of this gold bull market. I'm using it as narrowly. He's saying the first phase was the early 2026 move to like 5,600 or 120 in silver. That was the first phase, and now we're like in a consolidation where we don't know where we're going exactly. He's waiting for the Fed to lose control over the long term, which appears that it might have started last week, maybe, hopefully. And then the Fed's going to have to, when we hit a certain fault line, let's say 5.5, 6%. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be some number. And then the Fed's going to have to start QE, and then from that point, Keith Weiner says that the Fed's going to succeed and rates are going to fall back to zero, which it's going to send gold through the roof. Yes, but it means they still have some semblance of control over interest rates. So we might have God forbid, another round of this bullshit. But Daniel Oliver doesn't agree with that. He
I'm
says
much more
that,
on Daniel
yeah,
Oliver's side than Keith Weiner's in this point,
right. It's
which is
hard to decide between them because they're both so smart and they're not
yeah,
idiots.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're not. Keith Weiner and some others are students of Antel Fekete, I think his name was.
Yeah.
They're called like the Neo-Austrian school. I
Yeah.
need to research them more. It's funny because the Austrians are like considered very unorthodox. And then the
They are
Neo-Austrians,
the Orthodox. They're the only ones, but yeah.
but the Neo-Austrians are like the Austrians consider the Neo-Austrians really unorthodox too. Like we're like I like
Okay.
when I hear Neo-Austrians talk, I'm a little suspicious that something's wrong there. So
Okay.
I
I
need
really don't understand the machlokas there. I don't understand what the disagreement is. I never really looked into it that deeply because
yeah,
as much as I looked into Austrian works and I've read the basic ones, Human Action, Man Economy Instead,
yeah.
most of Rothbard, I have a cursory understanding of it, but I'm not an academic, so I never went that deeply into it. But I would tend to go with Daniel Oliver here because he's not really an economist. He's just looking at historical data and deducing from the raw stuff, whereas Keith is more theoretically oriented and his brain will work more mechanically in that sphere, which I trust a little bit less. I mean, I'm not sure.
I will say the Keith. I mean, this ties into Keith's company as well, which I haven't closed my position in this company or anything. I think even if I thought his theory was dead wrong as far as his company goes, all you have to do is not lose the gold. If you don't lose the gold, you're fine. You don't
Yeah.
have, you can have the crackpot theory. You just don't send out the gold and not get it back.
So check out
Um,
Monetary Metals slash Rafi and open an account. And that's the best way to support this channel. And okay, yeah, Phil.
yeah, I mean, Rafi and I both have open accounts. So what I'm, because I'm about to criticize Keith, and I don't want people to think that I'm somehow backing away from my investment in his,
I
well, not
think Keith's
my
okay with
participation.
honest criticism. He's not one of those
Yeah. Not sensitive. Yeah, he does not seem sensitive at all.
yeah.
Anyway, from what I understand, I've watched a lot of Keith's interviews. From what I understand, he thinks there is another 10, maybe even 20 years of this inflationary cycle ahead of us.
Rahman
Yeah,
al-Islam,
God.
please no.
Yes. But there will be a rise of companies like Monetary Metals and Glint and these and Battle Bank, Rick Rule's Battle Bank, all these gold-backed companies are going to start emerging and will help smooth the transition from fiat, from the not really fiat, but the unbacked credit stuff to a gold-backed system again. And so when the crash does happen, the market will have responded by having this skeletal credit structure already in place, and therefore we can avoid the apocalypse. That's from what I understand. Keith might come on and be like, Phil's an idiot. He totally misrepresents me. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I mean, we'll see which one is right. I'm going for Daniel Oliver, and
Yeah, I mean clearly I think we're there. I shut down my channel.
yeah. Okay, so I mean, let's see what happens with rates this week. I'm gonna
Yeah, we'll
that's gonna
know.
be
We'll know soon.
my focus for the next 2, 3 weeks. See if long-term rates keep going up, and let's move to topic number two. And
Yeah, if I will say to the
what?
viewer, if rates go down, Rafi and I are wrong about the timing. So we'll find out, and we'll both admit it. I'm not there's I have no pride in I can't say I don't see it happening.
I mean, the
But
situation we would be in that eventual if that happens is we'll be back at zero interest rates. Gold will be something like 10,000, $15,000, and we'll be like, okay, I was wrong about the timing, but like,
yeah, we're all right.
I'm fine.
Not
Uh,
the end of the world.
yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to go to the second topic here. And that is moral usury. Usury is usually defined as borrowing or lending and borrowing on interest. And it's considered because of a certain Christian interpretation of a biblical passage. There's one in Leviticus and the other in Deuteronomy. And it forbids specifically Israelites from loaning to each other on interest. But it's not exactly that. It's something a little bit different. But Phil, what do you, obviously we need to have interest rates. Obviously, interest rates are a reality of our finite time on the planet, and we can't just lend to each other on zero interest rates because that's essentially what we're fighting against. You can't just set interest rates at zero, even if you're going to do it through a theocracy or whatever. It's not going to work. It's just impossible. So how can you have moral usury, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's a very interesting topic, and I was talking about with some friends in the bunker, and it's the problem is it seems to be fairly obvious to me that most people, I would say two-thirds, maybe more of the humanities population just does not understand the implications of compound interest. In fact, if you add in the fake money, I mean, how many people understand gold as money in the world right now? 0.5%.
Yeah. How many people ever understood it even when they were using gold?
Yeah, it's money. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing with what's his face? J.P. Morgan had to go to Congress and say gold is money, and
Hmm.
this was this big, profound thing because they didn't understand that gold was money. That's wild to me because they had gold coins in their pocket, they had silver coins in their pocket,
Hmm.
but they also had these notes. They also had all these banknotes, and they were already confused in like 1910. They were already confused about gold being money or not.
Yeah.
So they had to have J.P. Morgan come explain it to them like children.
Didn't work.
Yeah, apparently not. Anyway, so if is it I'm not sure if it's moral to give someone a loan who doesn't understand what they are taking on. That's sort of the problem that I'm like running into. Like, if there's a simple, if there's a simple good man, but he's a
Mhm.
simple man and he goes to the bank, I mean, I can see a sophisticated banker like taking him to the cleaners. And then he has to, and depends on the gambit for failing your debt, or the penalty for failing your debt has run the gamut across history. I mean, in America now, when you don't pay your debt, it's like, well, didn't pay your debt. Oh well, what are you gonna do? I'll take your TV. Can't take your house, can't take your car. I can take your table.
Mhm.
I'll liquidate your whatever assets I can. But like in ancient times, I mean, it was like three generations of your family gets sold into slavery until the debt gets paid off.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so the technical answer to this question is actually very simple,
okay,
and it's based on just a simple misreading of the verses in the Bible, and that is the verses that deal with usury, with loans on interest. They are all explicitly in cases where the loan is being made to a poor person for a consumer-based loan, right? For consumer purposes. It has nothing to do
okay,
with business loans, right? If somebody comes to you with a business proposition and says, "I'm going to build these widgets, I need this amount of money," and then if it works, we'll split the profits. You get whatever percent, I get whatever percent. It'll be based on this interest rate, which is the going rate of profit now, because and that's fine. I mean, you can't build businesses without loans, without pooling capital like that, and you need to be able to pay off those business loans. So if it succeeds, then you pay out of the profits because you produce the profits, and then you get that return. There's a risk to it. You might not get paid back. You might lose on the business proposition. Fine, but that happens. But if it's a consumer loan and a poor guy comes to you and says, "Look, Phil, I can't afford my groceries this month. I need a loan of $100 so I can buy food for the month." And you're like, "Okay, well, it's going to be 10%. You owe me $110 in a month, in a month from
yeah,
now." Then what's going to happen? Well, he's going to borrow it because he needs to eat. He's going to spend the money on food. He's going to eat the food. He's going to have nothing but pee and poop because that's what happens to food. And then he's not going to be able to pay you back. And so you're going to say, "Oh, you can't pay me back? Well, now whatever you have is mine and you're my slave." So if you start consumer loans, if you have a culture of consumer loans, it doesn't even have to be poor people. I mean, this is what the inflationary system does. It encourages everyone to take loans, even if they're just consuming,
yeah,
right? There's consumer loans everywhere, and then you end up with that everyone is a slave. So it's a backhanded way to get someone to be your slave without telling him that. And so if somebody needs money for consumption, you just give him the money. You give him charity because he's not going to pay you back anyway. Like and you can't have a society where people are trying to make each other slaves to other people. It's not going to
right.
function. So
So
that
I
that's
had an
that's the answer.
interesting, I had an interesting conversation with another Austrian economist who was saying the one solution is for the business loan is not to have a direct like, all right, I'm going to borrow $100 from you at 10%, but rather I'm going to borrow $100 from you and you get 30% of the profits of the business endeavor. So it'd be tied instead of just a flat, here's the money I'm loaning you, you have to pay me this amount plus the interest at the end of it. It's going to be related to the success or failure of the company itself. What do you
Right,
think of
so
that?
you're basically talking about the difference between equity and debt. You're talking about
Yeah.
don't structure it by debt, structure it by equity. But functionally,
Well, it
it's
wouldn't
really
be
the
an
same
investment. It'd
thing.
be a loan. It'd be a loan, but the terms of the loan be a little more complicated than just a straight up, you owe me 10%.
Yeah. So I think that's how an Old Testament society would function. In Judaism, we have something called the Heter Iska, which
Yeah, he is Jewish.
allows
So.
yeah, which allows two parties to engage in an interest rate transaction. I think based on these sort of technical, I don't know exactly how it works. I never looked at a document before, but rabbinical courts they formulate these things on these grounds, right? To make sure it's not a consumer loan and that it's permissible according to Jewish law. That's when Jews loan money to each other within that kind of a circuit. And that's how I think that the Old Testament society will work. There,
Could
there,
a
there
Jew
will
offer
be
a
interest rates. There will be interest. There will be a stock market. There will be business ventures, but consumer loans on interest will not be allowed.
can Jews offer Gentiles consumer loans with interest, or is that
Yeah.
is that disallowed? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well. Maybe you shouldn't
It's.
take that loans though, people.
I'm not saying you should take it, but it's
Yeah, I
a.
mean that's
It's
part
a.
of. I don't necessarily, people think like people think that the stereotype of the the happy merchant, the cackling Jew is like trying to just enslave the entire town. I would think that the banker Jews of the Middle Ages and the ancient world were probably very rational people because you had to keep all this stuff in your head, like active loans, who owes what, write some stuff down, but you have to keep track of like interest rates and the broader banking is hard work. You have to keep track of a lot of stuff and you have to have a mind attuned to that.
Yeah.
So when a peasant comes in and wants to borrow money, the banker might just misassume that the peasant is thinking at the same level he's thinking at. So he's like, well, this guy wants to borrow this money. He obviously understands the risk that he's gonna owe me his entire farm if he doesn't pay me back. So that's his bit. I don't have a lot of sympathy for borrowers who then complain like, this guy screwed me over. Like you took the loan.
Yeah.
So don't take the loan if you don't want to be in debt, if you don't want
Well,
to be in trouble.
I mean that's a good segue into the final topic we have here in terms of believing and non-believing. And how do you approach the end game as a believer? How do you approach the end game as a non-believer? I don't like calling myself a believer. It's like it's not really that much that I believe in anything. I do believe in the Torah and the Old Testament, almost all of it literally, not all of it literally, from creation, from the creation story until the Garden of Eden. I think is maybe something like it happened, but it's not meant to be a historical lesson. But from Abraham on, it's like that's what happened to us. So I believe that, but going through the end game, seeing where we are now in the monetary sphere, there's just repeating patterns over and over and over again. Like we were just talking about with interest loans, right? If you go back into the first cycle of this, Jews get expelled. I wouldn't say Jews, Israelites, because saying the word Jews is an anachronism at that point. So Israelites, some of them end up in Egypt. That's the prototypical one is Joseph. Uh, God shines down on him and makes everything happen nicely. And he ends up being hired by the government to monopolize everything and take the food and take the money and enslave the entire country, which is in the end what happens. And then he invites his family down. Was it really Joseph's fault or was it Pharaoh telling him to do that? And Joseph's just telling Pharaoh what he sees in his dreams and interpreting the dreams, and then everything ends up correct, and he ends up giving Pharaoh everything. Was it the Jews taking over Egypt, or was it Pharaoh taking over Egypt using the Jews? I mean, obviously it's the second one. So that's what happened in that story. It's what happened again in the book of Esther. Like the Jews end up in the government. The queen ends up marrying the king because she's a nice, pretty girl, and then she uses her position to rebuild the second temple. And Mordecai takes over the monetary system. The rabbis say that he gave them a new monetary system, a new coin. Maybe he rebased the money or something like that. That's not textually based, but they're saying the Jews took over the monetary system again. And it happened with Daniel and Nebuchadnezzar. It's the same story over and over again. We always get blamed. It's not that we get positioned into these things. So as a believing person, having these stories happening over and over and over again, and now I see that, and then the tide turns. They enslave the Jews in Egypt. People start hating us. So we're in the people start hating us phase of things now. Like it's not like I wasn't aware of this. Like I know what's going to happen now, except things are different now because we're in Israel. So how that exactly plays out, I don't know. I mean, it could play out very badly, or this could all be set up for something else. I don't know what's happening. I know that we're in a sine wave, and I've we've been in this before. I don't believe in reincarnation in terms of like I lived a past life where I was one of those banker Ashkenazi Jews with big noses, giving people a bunch of loans and then and then people complaining to me. Maybe I was, but I don't have any memory of that. But I do believe in passing down experiences culturally through epigenetics, maybe. I don't know exactly, but there's something in me that feels viscerally in my gut, like I've been here before. I feel it, and I'm ready, and I can't stop the wave. I can't stop people hating Jews. It'll happen. I'm not complaining about it. I just, okay, this is where we are now. And now what's going to happen is a catastrophe, and we're going to get blamed, and then we're going to have to hunker down, and hopefully we don't get killed this time. I'm in it now, and the end game will either be very, very good or very, very bad. I just know that it's coming, and I'm just asking God to protect me and my family when it does hit, because I've done the best I can.
That's yeah, I can see like faith helps you get through there, at least emotionally centers you a little bit, huh?
Yeah, it makes me sure of where I am in a historical pattern. And if you're in a cycle, if you've seen this before, then you know more or less what comes next. Not exactly, but you, you're within history, and it keeps you grounded in the sense that you are part of a much longer chain that started way before you were born and will continue long after you die. And my only responsibility is to hand off the torch.
Is the Jewish interpretation to God like I'm sure it's different than the Christian one. Is it like is it just like a force or does he like I mean does he talk to people? I guess he does. He talked to the burning bush. Uh
There's no one
because there's people who are
Jewish
like I talked to
explanation of
yeah.
God, but like he has different names in the Torah, like
Okay.
the Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is the essence of whatever that means, and then his name changes from the first creation story to the second creation story. The first creation story is Elohim or Elohim, what people say, and
Yeah.
then the second one changes to Yud Kei Vav Kei or YHVH or Yahweh, what people fakely pronounce it. But they reflect different aspects of how God relates to the human race. Right? So there's no one way that God relates to us because we're multifaceted beings, and he has to relate to us as we are. And he can either relate through history, or he can relate as the creator, as a being with high emotions, or as a being with no emotions at all. It really depends on the state of humanity at the time, or whoever he has to converse with, because God doesn't have any of these aspects. They're all just for us to understand what's going on in the interaction between us and him.
When you do things right, people won't be sure you've done anything at all.
Gotcha. So I'll tell the viewers, and you know I don't mean any disrespect. I am very much not a Christian. I mean I grew up in a Christian country. I know all the stories, and I have very Christian family members. But I'm just not the way I describe it. So my son loves dragon fruit. I mean he just loves it's his favorite fruit in the world.
It's
So
so
every time I go to the
tasteless.
that's what I said. It tastes like nothing. But
It
he
tastes like it's
insists that
beautiful, but it tastes like nothing.
yeah, that's what I
Is
said.
this
It
like
tastes
a Korean thing? Do like Koreans taste dragon fruit?
I don't know. I don't know, but I taste absolutely not. You know, I bought it and I taste it. I'm like, this tastes like no, it's not even it's not bad. It's not like I dislike it. It tastes literally like nothing.
Nothing! Nothing! Absolutely nothing! Stupid!
Yeah.
But my son insists that it is the most fragrant and delicious fruit he's ever had in his life, and he loves it. He wants me to get as many as possible.
It's got to be a
That's really
genetic thing.
weird. Maybe it's
He has to
yeah,
have
maybe
a receptor that we don't have. It has to be.
that's wild, Rafi. So anyway, this is my analogy. That's so I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, there's three possibilities here. One, he's tasting something that I'm not tasting. Two is that he's not tasting anything, but he thinks he's tasting something. So there's just some sort of psychosis he's put on himself. And then three is that I bought him the dragon fruit and he doesn't really taste anything. But you know, they're like $6.99 each or something. So he's like, "Oh, I don't want my dad to think that I don't like this thing." So I'm just going, "Oh, it's so good," you know. So I
That
see
might
him
be that.
eating.
That would be disappointing. I want to do some
Yeah,
research
that
on
he's
the.
totally maybe he's just totally faking it. This is sort of but I don't the religion is like the same thing to me. I feel nothing. Like I don't feel anything. I don't have that receptor. And when I see people being very religious, I think it's either I mean I concede it's entirely possible they just have receptors I don't have. So I'm not trying to say like, oh, you guys are all faking it. But it's also like I know people who have like you know, they go to the church, they don't really believe anything that's being said, but they like the community and you know, so they just you know, they go along. They profess beliefs that they don't really have that much, you know. They don't you know, Jesus isn't in their lives or God isn't in their lives. But they, you know, they like the community. And then there's people who are like, oh, oh, I just believe so much, Jesus loves me, blah 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 blah. And I'm sort of like, well, are you talking to yourself? Or are you actually talking to the divine creator? And I just don't. But like, what's weird, like people, the religious people, the religious Christians think that I just need to eat more dragon fruit. If I just eat more dragon fruit, I'll finally taste it. And like, no, I'm not gonna. I taste nothing. And this happened. When I was in South Korea. This happened to me two separate times. I went to a dentist and I was getting my teeth cleaned, and I'm like sitting there. I'm leaned back on the chair, and he's like doing this with my teeth, and he goes, "By the way, have you found Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior?" And I'm like, "No."
Really?
Two separate dentists. I'm like, wow, that is like you have a captive audience.
Oh, yeah. It's your professionalism that I respect. Oh! Oh!
So
That's
I
just no, to you it's funny. To me it's a threat. I can't, like, I would just leave the office. I can't do it. Yeah.
I didn't go back. I mean, that's very, it's I think I consider it very rude to proselytize a captive audience like that. you know. But anyway, so I don't sense anything, but the question, I guess, the topic is, if I'm not sensing anything, why am I not, like, if there's really, if I'm going to take the nihilistic view, there's really nothing beyond this, and I'm just a shell, walking around in this empty world, and when I die, and that's it, and the humanity is nothing to look forward to except the heat death of the universe at the end. So why don't I just spend my life on cocaine and hookers?
One $300 hooker bot or $301 hooker bots?
Right? I could just say, well, why am I building this? Why am I sitting in this house? Why am I accumulating stuff?
So
Why am I
what does
accumulating?
motivate you? What does motivate you to spread rational
I
economic
don't know.
morality to the world?
I have no idea. That was a compulsion. Like when I watched you and Mario in the early days, I was like, I have to warn people, and I don't know what compelled me to do it. Since then, fear has overtaken that, so I no longer feel the need to. I feel like the market's going to warn people enough, and I can just sit back now. But in the early day, I mean, that was gold was 1700 when I started.
Mhm.
So there was plenty of time to get the news out and help people figure it out. And I felt like I had something of an answer to answer the question of why you need to move into gold. So I felt compelled to do it.
Well,
Now
you feel connected to your fellow humans, and
yeah,
that's a web. Those connections exist somewhere in your brain circuitry, and people like Fauci don't have them. No, I'm saying that they
yeah,
don't
seriously.
they don't have them. I mean, there's something in your brain that does not exist in his brain, and you do not feel connected to him at all. He's just a nuisance to you, and well, unless he gets power, and then he's a big threat. But that what you're saying, that dragon fruit taste, you do have it. It's just in your compulsion to help other humans, and I think the Bible or Judaism would call that the image of God. There's some unifying thing here, and you don't know what it is, but it's that dragon fruit taste. It's not driving you towards Christianity, but it is driving you towards what I would say is religious existence.
But I don't feel like I'm not filled with charity. Like when I see a bum on the street, I'm not like, oh, I got to give this guy $1. In fact, I'm the opposite. I'm like, if I give this guy $1, it's going to be poorly spent. So I'm not going to give him $1.
Well, that's because he's not part of your nation, really. I mean,
Yeah.
he's part of your country, but you would do that for your family if your brother needed, or or
Yeah.
your parents. You would give them, even if you knew that it would just go, they just eat it and that's it. You'd still give it to them because you care about your family. So,
Yeah.
we're supposed to provide charity to each other because we're a family, and Christians can have that feeling for other Christians. That's fine. But you don't. But you have other things. That's how you believe in helping your fellow man, on
Understand the
a
monetary
on
system.
a
Yeah.
on a more intellectual level, which you think is more lasting.
Yeah. Reached out to who I could anyway. The trouble is, I mean, I felt like a proselytizer who's getting rejected. I felt like a Mormon. Like, excuse me, sir, do you know about gold being money? Like,
It's the same thing that motivates them,
yeah.
except they're just wrong on what they're trying to spread. But they have that same feeling, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. 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 And again, I don't have any ill. I don't want to make it sound like I have ill will towards Christians. I mean, I grew up in a very Christian culture. I don't want people think I'm making fun of them or something. I'm not. People can believe whatever they want, as long as they're not harming others.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's about it. I think that's it. Moral life through the end game. Did we cover that? Well, how does one live a moral life through the end game?
Um,
We didn't really cover that part of the question.
how does one live a moral life? Well, you can't completely because we're all stuck in a system of theft, but
Yeah.
just being conscious of that and knowing that we're going to have to come out of it. And
How much of your money should you give to charity in the end game? Like when the neighborhood when the town is starving and like
Mhm.
things are falling apart and you are the beacon of light, how much silver and gold should you just like, here you go,
Well,
rather than buying things?
we're not allowed to give more than 20%. That's
Okay, 20.
the,
That's pretty high. I thought it was
yeah.
10. Okay.
10 is the acceptable amount based on tithing.
Okay.
And there's no explicit source you have to give 10%, but there's hints at it. For example, Jacob's oath to God to help him back home after going to Laban's house. He says, I'll give 10% of my income. So we follow that, but we're not allowed to give more than 20. And one of the sources for that is that Pharaoh didn't take more than 20% taxes from his slaves when Joseph enslaved them. So we have
Uh-huh.
these loose
So you would
rubrics.
not, you would, so if you gave away something like 90% of your wealth in the end game, just to help your neighborhood, that would not make you moral, you would say. That would not make you
No, I
righteous.
actually it wouldn't help because
Would not.
how I would help is I would direct capital. I would buy
Yeah.
things and then try to get the capital machines working again so people could work and produce their own stuff.
That's
Um,
true, because if you just inject currency with no additional capital allocation, then you just end up with higher prices because
yeah,
it's just more currency chasing existing goods.
so the
That's
best form of
oh,
the best
that's
form
really
of
cool.
charity is employment, right? It
Yeah,
doesn't mean you're just handing stuff out, but
that's true.
you're
Yeah, right.
organizing things and you're benefiting. What does a capitalist do? He identifies opportunities, says you're good at this, you're good at that. I'm good at directing both of you. So you do this, you do that, and I'll pay you to do that, and then we'll produce something bigger for the rest of the people. That's why capitalists are moral. And if you get them
Yeah.
addicted to theft, it messes up the entire system, which is what a fiat system does. It turns all capitalists into thieves.
But you and I, neither one of us, like, I don't want to run a company. I don't think you want to run a company. So how do you be a capitalist without like taking over a company and like managing it?
Well, I would hire someone who has a capitalist mentality but has no
Gotcha.
money.
So you'd hire a CEO basically to run the companies that you run.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, yeah. I really do not want to. I want to do videos online after the end game. I want to restart the bidder draft and do videos online. That's what I want to do.
Restart it now.
No.
Okay, fine. All right.
All
Wait,
right. I'll see
do
you.
you have all your content though? Can you like re-upload it when the
Yeah,
time
yeah.
comes?
Well,
Okay,
the
so
content's actually up on the Gentleman Capitalist website, so you can watch all my old videos.
Gentleman Capitalist.
Yes,
What's that?
that's my website.
You have a website?
I do. Thegentlemancapitalist.com.
Wow, I didn't know that. Well, now I know
Yes,
about
all
okay.
my videos are up there, and you can watch my historic videos if
Okay,
you want.
gentlemancapitalist.com. Everybody check it
Might
out.
be let me look it up. Hold
You
on.
don't
I
even
can't
know your
remember.
own website? Oh God.
Well, I figured I'm going to be a gentleman of substance, so thegentlemancapitalist.com. Nope, I think it's gentleman capitalist. Maybe I'm misspelling capitalist. Hold on.
The
You might have to edit
Facebook.
this part out.
Just Facebook.
Well, here's the thing. I figure most of the internet's going to go down, so I want to have my own website. I think I'm not spelling capitalist. Oh yeah, I'm spelling capital. No, capitalist.
Phil
Maybe my
does not know
website's
how to
down.
spell capitalist.
No, okay. It's gentleman capitalist. No, gentlemancapitalist.com.
Okay.
Yep, that's my website. That's where I'm going to be posting my new stuff until, when YouTube reforms or whatever the next network, video centers are, I'm going to start posting there. But in the meantime, when I restart my videos, it's going to be a total change. I'm going to be just teaching Austrian school. I'm going to be teaching Oh man, economy and state. I'm just gonna be taking this book and converting it into visual presentations for people using my charm, my humor, and
Uh,
my ability to make simple concepts. And it's gonna be much more just theory. We're not gonna be talking about daily interest rates and stuff like that. So,
that sounds exciting. Okay, I wasn't trying to be funny. All right. That was a good show. I'll see
all right,
you soon.
see you, man. Bye.